Saquon Barkley will not be eligible for a new deal for another 2 years. And the way things have gone, that is an accurate statement.
Right.
But if Saquon Barkley is watching television this morning, if he's watching you right now and you were to speak directly to him and advise him, what would you tell him?
A, be careful. Like, you have to make it through 2 more seasons to get your money, and you're playing on a team that maybe his football mind tells him that they have a chance to win this season, but he's playing on a team that does not really have a chance this year. So it may be in his best interest, in the Giants' best interest, for when they're out of it, to sit him down, because those carries will accumulate, and they need a player like that to make a run. And he needs to be healthy to get to his money. And while I do understand what Adam was saying and what Mr. T was saying earlier about this Zeke not setting a precedent, I disagree, because it sets a precedent for players who are as good as Zeke. It may not affect Melvin Gordon because he's not as good as Zeke, but we all agree Saquon is as good as Zeke. So Saquon at year 3, something we weren't expecting for normal first-round picks, Saquon is going to expect and deserve a huge raise, and that's different than what we thought of a month ago or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we would have said, this is crazy. We don't pay a guy like that. Now we know that that is the new normal.
Marcus, I would love to get your perspective on this, because what Domonique is talking about would have been deemed blasphemy in the National Football League not long ago. He's a second-year player. Sit him down towards the end of the season, manage his workload. Is that the new National Football League, Marcus? Does it make sense to you?
Well, what it is players getting smarter. I 100% agree with Foxy. Players have more of an understanding of the business structure. I'm not talking about agents. I'm not talking about organizations. The players, they're looking at it. The running backs in particular have understood that they're trying to devalue what we do, and we know that we're very important. And also, Don made another great point. Look, we talking about Zeke, but we talking about a transcendent player. We talking about different type dudes when we have conversations about Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, what Christian McCaffrey may mean to the Panthers. It's a lot of things that play into this factor, but it's not blasphemous at this point, Greeny, because the league is different. These players are starting to understand that the value is in the years. The value is the earlier I can get to the table, I'll probably increase what comes my way as far as my bank account. So it's not far-fetched for Saquon in 2 years to go to the Giants and say, look, I need a new deal. And also what I alluded to earlier, just playing into the fact of if this franchise is going to build around him like the Dallas Cowboys have built around Zeke. Dallas did 2 things, I think, that were very important in this negotiation, but not only that, in this organization. They found an identity and committed to it. That's number one, because before it was about Tony Romo and finding how many weapons they could get for him to throw the football. They found an identity. They built this offensive line. I remember sitting here 3 to 4 years ago and thinking to myself, why in the hell would the Dallas Cowboys draft a center and a guard in the first round of the NFL draft with all of these skilled position players? So that's one thing they did. They found something, they committed to it. And then they drafted a running back. And I don't know if you guys remember when we were having a conversation about Ezekiel Elliott and these running backs. Why would you take a running back so high? You can find value in them in the 2nd and 3rd round. Look, because these dudes different. They ain't the same. And the Cowboys identified that, and we have to give them credit for identifying that with Ezekiel Elliott. And we got to give the New York Giants credit for identifying that with Saquon Barkley. Your guy, Sam Darnold, was who everybody thought that the Giants should take or some quarterback. These 2 players have changed the running back market, but these 2 bears are not the same.
Yeah, Mr. T, jump in here.
Yeah, and going back to Dom's point, we're talking about rarefied air here. We're talking about very few players. Todd Gurley did this a couple of years ago where they redid his deal early, but for every Gurley and Zeke and maybe Barkley, there's Melvin Gordon who rolled the dice and he lost. He may never get that $10 million again that Adam Schefter reported. So we're talking about a very few players here that are transcendent, and Barkley's in that conversation, but there's so many more players that have to play out their contracts and then get to the market, and Melvin Gordon may be the next example of that.
Look, I've been around this thing long enough to have seen a million running backs come into the National Football League and set the league on fire for a year or 2 and then fade away into the ether. The guys who keep doing it for a long time are very few and far between. I also remember hosting a talk show while DeMarco Murray was being run into the ground by these very same Dallas Cowboys. And I was the one on the air who kept saying, he should tell them, stop giving me the ball. And everyone yelled at me. And then you know what the Cowboys did at the end of the season? They didn't re-sign him, and he was out of the league by the time he was 30. So these guys get used up.
I know your point is that they should draft running backs in the 1st round, and the person that agrees with you the most is Bill Belichick.
Right.
Look how the Patriots have constructed that running back room. First round pick a year ago, Sony Michel.
Yep.
Third round pick this year in Damian Harris. So there is a lot of people that think that, hey, get them early, use them, and then move on.
Jeremy, go ahead.
Here's the problem. These rookie deals are so cheap. I mean, you're looking at Saquon Barkley, what's he making, $30 million over 4 years for a guy of that caliber? So that's what has to change for some of these guys. You know, you're going third, fourth year. Teams can have a quarterback that's paying $2 million a year for it.
They are changing it, and we've referenced the union several times, and I've always believed that you get things done with collective action. But we're seeing a more NBA-style model from some of these guys where we're getting individual action, flexing their power. And again, it's only for the guys in the rarefied air, but this is a precedent. It's setting a trend that we've seen, and we can go back and talk about Lev Bell or even Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack. We've seen guys flex their muscle in a way that we rarely see NFL players.
I'm so glad you just said that, by the way.
But, Don, what do you think Melvin Gordon's thinking today?
He should be thinking I'm not as good as them. To be honest with you, he doesn't have the ability to flex his muscle and get done with these guys.
The fact that we are sitting here a month removed from all these NBA players signing all these huge contracts, is that a coincidence?
I don't think it is. We all live in this world. We're all influenced whether we're conscious of it or not. We're influenced by that. And these guys, they look up, they make jokes, but they think we have power too, and they're showing it.
Quick final word, Swagoo, go.
Look, I think one thing we need to pay attention to, I thought that was great what you guys were just saying, but let's pay attention to the backs that haven't got paid. Melvin Gordon playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback, Phillip Rivers. Le'Veon Bell was playing with Ben Roethlisberger. These running backs that we're talking about that got a significant amount of money, Jared Goff wasn't Jared Goff when Todd Gurley got paid. So these three particular running backs were in perfect situations with their franchise and their franchise level of thinking is that we need these guys in order for the guys at the most important position on the football team to be at the highest level. So that also, to me, played into a trend. You don't get paid at running back when you have a Hall of Fame running back usually.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.